Hello there and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here. And welcome, fellow cosmic traveler and seeker of the light. I'm sending you good vibes from the other side and blessings from the higher cosmos. In today's video, it's another overview for March 2021. And in this one, we will actually be looking at the rise and fall of the energies for the month, so you can know when to move ahead and when to pull back. So it's the big picture of the rise and fall, and I did another overview video for you relating to the themes, but now we're going to be looking at how the energies are actually unfolding in terms of intensity and strength versus resting and passivity over the month. And to get this information and this inspiration, what I have done for you is I've mapped out the lunar and solar cycles, and there's a lot of emphasis, with the moon energy, the lunar energy. And this is important. I don't know how many of you know this. I think many of you actually who watch this channel, but just in case you haven't thought about it much, the movements of the moon each month, in other words, the lunar cycle, it is the main barometer of the flow of energy on this planet, along with the sign changes of the sun. So the sun and the moon have a greater impact on our life on Earth, especially on the biological and the physiological sense and our emotions. These have the greatest impact than even the other planets. But the planets do have impact, and I'm sure many of you know about Mercury retrograde, for example, so we know there's some impact there. But yes, we need to look at, to understand this rise and fall of energy for the month, we need to look at the lunar cycle, because this is, well, it's the fundamental cycle. It's the fundamental cycle of energy. It's the fundamental cycle of growth, of rebirth, of culmination, of transformation. And then also, this is the cycle of cleansing, letting go, decline, and then death, metaphorically speaking. So it's all connected, really. So anyway, what I've done here for you, and I'll try to put in a little bit of a photo later, but maybe I'll just kind of hint at it now. So what I've done here is I've actually mapped out mathematically the rise and fall of this lunar cycle. Maybe I'll just go ahead and walk up here and show you. Oh, it's not very much light here. So here is where we're at on March 1st, and I'm actually filming on March 3rd. But here we're not very high, and so we're at a point where the lunar energies are actually beginning to go down, down, down. And right here at the 0 point is the day of the new moon. The new moon is 0 point every month, and that's going to be Saturday, March 13th. That's the lowest tide of the month energetically. And then from there it goes up, 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 up. Here is the full moon where I've marked it, and that is Sunday, March 28th. But you'll notice about right in here, okay, right in here. So here's the full moon. See that little circle? That's full moon. That's March 28th, okay? So first of all, something to think about is that as we're beginning the month, we're at 50% in waning, okay? And by 50%, I mean, on March 1st, we were at, half of the full capacity of lunar energies. So it's still pretty strong, but it's waning. And by the time this video comes out, on Friday, March 5th, I'm hoping to get it out by then, we'll be at fourth quarter. And at that time, we're only at the 25% of energy, and it's waning. Do you know what I mean by waning? I think many of you do, but waning does refer specifically to the moon, but anything, when it's waning, it is decreasing, okay? And because there is a difference between when the energies are at 50% and decreasing, waning, or 50% and increasing, which we call waxing. But right now, at the start of the month, so this is what you need to know for right now, if you're watching this, near the beginning of March, basically anywhere between March 1st and March 13th, if you're watching this at this time, you need to understand that we are in the waning cycle, we are in the decreasing cycle. So this is a cycle of cleansing, regardless of the signs. Now we happen to be still in the time of the sun in Pisces, which is a water sign. And water energy is cleansing, it is releasing, it is soothing. So the solar energies are supporting the lunar energies, which is often the case, but not always. It's nice when it's the case. And we just had the full moon not that long ago in Virgo, which is an earth element, very grounding, but also very cleansing. So between the start of this month to at least March 13th, I want you to think about being in that cycle of cleansing and rearranging. And basically how I think of it is that when the lunar energies are going down, hold on a second, there's a plane going by, that's loud. Wow, it just got loud in the world all of a sudden. Hopefully you can hear me. So when the lunar energies reach especially 25% and waning, and that's going to be Friday, March 5th. So between Friday, March 5th and Saturday, 13th, especially that time, that is the time to concentrate on preparation, to prepare for your monthly lunar rebirth. Now this is even more important in this month of March 2021, almost any March, but especially this month, the way the lunar cycles are hitting in relationship to the solar cycles, because we have our annual rebirth, our astrological rebirth with the spring equinox and the sun entering Aries. Now I do realize if you live in the southern hemisphere, it is not the spring equinox for you, it is the fall. But it's still the sun entering Aries, and that is the first sign of the zodiac. So this is the sign of rebirth. And I'll talk more about that, I'm sure, in future videos later this month. So if you're not already subscribed, if you're not already following my videos either on YouTube or Facebook, do get subscribed, do follow them so that you can get that information when it comes out later. But basically, you know, we're going to have this solar rebirth. The solar rebirth is like what it sounds like. Listen to that word, soul. Soul. We will have the solar rebirth beginning on March 20th this year with that sun entering Aries on the equinox. But before that, if you look at the lunar energies are lowest this month on Saturday, March 13th. So what can we do? You know, especially between March 5th to March 13th, even March 1st, but you're not going to see this video on then. So what can we do up until the 13th? And even up until the 18th, around the 18th. So if you're taking notes, you can write that down. Thursday, March 18th in this year is the beginning of when the energies start to, they really reach medium tide and increasing, what I call medium tide. Now listen, this is not, when I say medium tide and high tide and low tide, this is not like, I don't know if all astrologers use this phrase. This is something more that I use to describe it. So, you know, I'm not saying this is official, you know, astro speak, but it's my astro speak. Okay, so the lunar energies reach that medium tide this month. You know, they're starting to pick back up on March 18th. But before March 18th, basically, between now and March 18th, or between March 1st and March 18th, especially between March 5th and March 13th, I would recommend that you focus on preparation. I would recommend that you focus on working in the background. So in other words, I don't know, let's say you have a new program you want to launch, or a new enterprise. Then this would be a good time to focus on setting up websites, sending out pre-info emails, you know, having a pre-launch. Even if you're launching an actual, you know, business, like with the storefront. I mean, it doesn't have to have a storefront to be a business, but let's say you're launching a storefront, you know, you can have a pre-launch. It's a good time for pre-launches, not the best time for launches. It's not the worst. I mean, hey, at least Mercury's direct, right? But it'd be better to launch after the 20th, I would say. 21st, actually, 21st or after. So in that period of March 5th to March 13th, maybe all the way to the 18th. Focus on the behind the scenes works, the things that need to be done to prepare. And maybe business isn't your interest, maybe love is your interest. So, then you focus on setting up your dating profile. Maybe you focus on updating your wardrobe if you want to meet somebody. If you're with somebody but you want to go deeper in that relationship, then that's a time to learn about new communication skills or learn about, think of, get creative, brainstorm, plan a romantic getaway. It'd be better to actually take the getaway later, you understand? So make plans. Make plans and do the necessary behind the scenes work, and then the bigger push of action to align with this solar lunar cycle would be best to do that after March 18th for sure. Okay? Now, looking back at this little graph here, I want you to understand, because you're probably wondering, when are the energies at the highest for the month? Well, right here on my little graph, my little XY graph, you might see that they're going to be the highest on March 21st. I don't even know if you can read that. And I realize that I write like a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I am a doctorate, so I guess that's my excuse. So right on March 21st, because that's when we have the full moon. And that will be, well, before I say anything, any of you astro nerds out there know, if the sun is in Aries, because it just entered Aries the day before, what sign would the full moon be in? Are you guessing? Well, I'm going to give you a hint. It will be in the opposite sign of Aries. I'm not even going to tell you. You have to look it up, because when it comes around, I'll probably do a video about it. So if you don't know the answer to that, it's a good opportunity to Google and search for Aries and find out what its opposite sign is, because the full moon is always in the opposite sign of the sun. So yeah, right there around that full moon on March 21st, that is the peak of energy. So if you're really wanting to give a forward push, I mean, right around that time, but it's not like the energies are only high for that day, because keep in mind, it begins to build to the medium on the 18th, and it stays pretty high even until I think I have right here, looks like the 28th. Oh, did I say the 21st was the full moon? Let's backtrack a little here. Is that right? Sometimes you know what? I messed up on that, okay? So the full moon is actually March 28th. It's all the way to March 28th. My goodness. I guess I wanted it to be here sooner. Oh, yes, I do. But March 21st is the beginning of the higher energy. At March 21st, we are 50% in waxing. And that's really, it doesn't really change what I said for you, other than, no, that's not the date of the full moon. The actual date of the full moon is March 28th. But that does mean that from the 21st on, that's when the energies are going to begin to be the highest, and then they are at the highest on March 28th. So basically the window of time, let me show you again and make sure I get it right this time. So the window of time is right in here where it's at the highest, March 21st, and then going to especially March 28th, right here on this axis, but even to some extent until March 30th. And so you can see up here, follow the line, okay? Here's the March 28th full moon. There's my line. We're at 100%, and then we start to go down. And right here is April 1st, and we're going down really fast. We're going down really fast. You know, even after March 30th, the energies start to go down really fast in terms of forward momentum and, that push to get things done. It's like right now I'm seeing as I'm filming that the sun is setting, so have you noticed my light is changing and it's declining? And that's exactly what this line is about, only with the moon. It's about how the energy of the moon and our emotions and our, the sun has a lot to do with motivation, but so does the moon, because the moon is the inner, it's more inspiration. It's more that emotional fuel that we have to get things done. Now, it's not all bad, though, when it starts to decline. And, that decline doesn't happen really till the end of the month. So we're going to enter April on a decline cycle. And it's good because, like, say, on Tuesday, March 30th, we're at 50% again, which is where we started March, which is not the lowest, but it's waning now. It's declining. And there is one good thing about that I notice every month. I mean, once we back off from that full moon, the emotions aren't as intense, which of course means we don't have as much emotional fuel to propel us forward to want to get things done. But it also means we're calmer. You know, just like right now with the sun is setting. Actually, there's still quite a bit of sun on the other side of the house, but here in the shade, as it's starting to get shade, I'm just starting to feel more peaceful, more calm. And so we utilize that part of the month. It's, you know, basically going into April, you know, because, you know, Tuesday, March 30th is the next to last day. So I guess I'm going to give you a little snapshot ahead in April. When you begin that first week in April, you want to utilize that time for rest and contemplation and tying up loose ends, similar to the time that we're in when I'm going to put this video out, right? In this time that we're in, at the beginning of March, we want to tie up loose ends. We want to maybe make a small start, but nothing big. We want to make plans. We want to get information, gather up the information. And we do want to cleanse. Cleansing is so important, not because we're dirty, but because a lot of us who are spiritual and sensitive and psychic and just metaphysical or empathic and tuned in, we absorb energies and we take on the cares of the world, and we do it constantly. So we also have to practice regular cleansing and letting go. And I might make a separate video about that. I probably have some actually, but I like to do it elementally. And right now, up until the 21st, and even to some extent after March 21st, the focus of the energies are on water and earth and some air, but not much on fire. Actually, you could work with fire energy to balance, and that's a different thing than cleansing. That's strengthening. So if you do feel weak, you know, if you just really feel like you have inertia, work with fire energy, and however you do that. I mean, if you have a fireplace or candle magic, or actually you can work with fire energy by working out and getting hot and sweaty. Did you know that? That's your internal fire. And then you could work with the lower chakras and the triple burner. And I'm getting into some of the energy work stuff now, but yeah, you can work in your energy system. I mean, heck, you could just meditate on the fiery colors. And then also, of course, getting in sunlight. That is very illuminating, very warming. Fire means getting warmer. So if you need to work with that. But for the cleansing, I wouldn't cleanse through fire when we're in this kind of cycle. I would cleanse through water. You know, the cleansing baths or getting in the ocean or however you do it. I would cleanse through earth, being in nature. Like right now, I mean, I'm cleansing through earth and air and some fire with the sun. And the totems, the geese are flying overhead. Can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear it. It's beautiful. So sometimes just getting outside and sitting in the ground or standing and letting it all go to nature, that can be very cleansing. So that's how you cleanse through earth. And then air, I mean, I just think some deep breathing or some fresh air, just getting out and breathing fresh air. That's awesome. You know, if there's a little bit of wind, great. Not too much. You don't want to get windburn. So anyway, those are some thoughts for both the beginning of the month, especially going up until, I would think, March 13th at least, concentrating on cleansing and preparation, maybe even to 18th, to March 18th. And then between March 18th and, let's say, March 30th, those are the times to focus more on discharging energy, on releasing, on creating, on birthing. And then the cycle begins again, and, you know, we start to go into the decline and the releasing again on March 30th. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you appreciate these lunar insights. It's a lot of work for me to chart this out mathematically, like I have. But if you appreciate, you know, knowing the rise and fall of the energies, I could probably do this, you know, every month maybe, or at least in some months. Okay, I don't want to say every month, but I could do it more months in the future. So let me know if you found this helpful, and I hope that you did. And until next time, I am sending you the most exquisite blessings from the earth element and the air element, as well as the solar fire element. And the water element behind me here. Cosmic blessings to you all.